don't like carrying your book around, by all means, you can carry it around on your phone. I know a lot of people these days want everything on their phones. This is going over once again what to do if you have a student athlete that needs an accommodation. So this particular slide is basically telling coaches what they need to do, and frankly, they get with their AD. And this is for someone who might need an insulin pump or might have a athlete who has undergone some chemotherapy and their hair is falling out and they would like to wear a bandana around their head, which normally we would consider to be illegal. However, if they have a letter of accommodation, they can ask to get one. And all they do is that AD will approach NMOA, ask NMOA for it. They'll have a hearing, they'll meet on it and be heard, and they'll make a decision. In the event that they do get one and they are granted an accommodation, NMOA will send it to them, we'll give it to them on letterhead. And what will happen is when we as referees enter the gym, then what they will do is they'll present us with that to let us know they do have a player who has a special accommodation. Now, in the event we don't have an accommodation and someone clearly walks in with something, be reasonable, people. If it doesn't cause injury to others and seems like something that they really do need, then by all means, go ahead and tell the coaches they need to get an accommodation letter. The reason we show you referees this is so you can help them to point them in the right direction they need to go. So to get that, they're basically going to be contacting Tammy Richards here. She's our volleyball liaison at NMOA, and Tammy will get with them and start to get that to them as quick as they can. Okay? Let's look at the rule changes coming up for this year. Okay, hold on one moment. Okay, I'm back. This first rule, I always ask everyone, I don't believe any high school gym in the state of New Mexico has retractable nets. Not the retractable poles, but the whole net comes up and down out of the ceiling. So I don't think we have that. If anybody out there has it, please type it into Dana and we'll talk about it. Basically, they're talking about what would be playable if it hits it. So since no one has it, we just are going to kind of skip this. Let's talk about legal uniform rule. They've reorganized it and they hopefully simplified it. Of course, one of the first things they did was remove the solid colored jersey out of the rule book. And now they're saying the uniform top and the libero must clearly contrast with the uniform top worn by the rest of their teammates. So hopefully under this new rule, there's emphasis on this. They really want us as officials to enforce this rule and make sure that everyone is clearly contrasting. We're going to go over a couple of photographs of what contrasts and what doesn't here shortly, because a lot of it has to do with when you have multiple colors and what percent of the uniform it's on. So that is, it used to be the top was only considered, the sleeves weren't considered part of it. Now sleeves are considered part of the uniform top. So what they're saying is the libero's uniform cannot be made up solely of the same predominant color or colors of the team uniform top, even if the light colors are placed differently on the uniform top. We're trying to get coaches to know they can't use the old, when the team is playing at home, they'll wear the home uniform, which usually consists of a combination of white, and the libero is wearing the away colors, which might be green and white. So now you've got the team in white with green sleeves and the libero in green with white sleeves. That's not going to cut it. If the team is wearing a green uniform and the sleeves are white, the libero's color, her predominant color, must contrast with green and white. Everybody clear on that? So when we had the coaches clinic, we did all we could to get them to understand they can't do the visiting and away swap unless, of course, their colors really do contrast. You could have a team that's in a solid green shirt. The whole shirt's green with a little bit of yellow stripes on the bottom, and the libero comes out with white, totally white with a little yellow stripe on the bottom. That's okay, because now the predominant color on the team uniform will be green, the predominant color on libero's uniform would be white, that would be fine. So we're really going to be depending on you all to look at these and make those determinations for teams. Key being, as soon as you get in the gym, look around and look to see what the liberos are wearing, so that if you have to talk to a coach and say, coach, this isn't going to work, we need you to change, you have another jersey or something, they have some time before the game starts to try and fix the situation. So let's talk about what criteria we're going to use to establish predominant color. Okay, the predominant color used to be, in the past, we had to figure out if something was 25%, if something was 50%, not anymore. The predominant color is the color that appears to be on the majority of the uniform top, body and sleeves. So when you walk in and you look at the uniform, it looks like their uniform is blue and gray. The predominant colors you're going to say are blue and gray. Okay? If they have one predominant color with accent colors, then obviously you're going to go by what the main one predominant color is. If you can establish one predominant color, great. Then the libero's uniform must be clearly contrasting with that predominant color. If in the event they have a two-tone jersey, which we have an example of, let's look at this one here. This uniform here has one predominant color. I think we can all agree the predominant color on this Kingston jersey is black. Now you can see it's got a little bit orange, a little bit of gray stripes down along it. However, the predominant color of this jersey top is black. So the libero comes out. What's the predominant color on the libero's jersey? Clearly it's orange. These two, this example here, would be considered to be compliant. Okay? The libero's jersey, orange, is clearly contrasting with the team jersey, black. Now, what do you do when there's multiple predominant colors? So what you're going to do is, if you can't establish that there's one predominant color, then you're basically going to look to see, is the libero jersey, are the colors, if you pick out two, then what are they going to be? Let's look to see. Let's take this jersey here, for instance. If you look at this, you really can't see, well, some of you might say the predominant color is blue. Yes, but it's light blue, and then as you can see, as it goes down, the gradient, it turns into navy blue, okay? So let's look at a couple of pictures here. We've got on the right a jersey that just literally reversed it. The top of the one jersey is navy blue, and the bottom is light blue. On the left, you have a jersey that's predominantly white. Now, since the predominant color on the team jersey is light blue and navy blue, white clearly contrasts with that. So let's look at what this comes out to be. The jersey on the left is compliant. The jersey on the right, because it's just a switch of it, is not compliant. So hopefully you all won't have too much of this to look at this season, but if you do, I encourage you, please step up and talk to the teams and tell them that is not compliant. And then make sure you report that. Let your group leader know. We don't want a bunch of calls flooding in here to NMOA from, all 600 volleyball referees that are around the state. What we'd like you to do is let your group leader know. Group leaders, if you're on this call, and I believe there's one or two of you on here, then clearly get in touch very quickly with Tammy Richards up here, and she will talk to that team. They usually talk to them within 24 hours to let them know that they have a non-compliant jersey. But it all starts with us as the referees letting them know they have a non-compliant jersey, okay? If you have a team that shows up and they have a non-compliant jersey, then you may have to tell them you cannot play with a libero. You're more than welcome to have that student athlete change into a regular team uniform, and then she can be a regular player. Okay, let's talk about what's happened with legal uniforms in terms of schools' names and nicknames. Now, they're permitted on the uniform top and or bottom. So in this particular, if you look real close to this picture, underneath the 10, you will actually see, it might look like a raven's head. I really can't see it that well, but it's sublimated under there. It used to be they weren't allowed to have a sublimated picture on a jersey. Now you can have a sublimated picture on the jersey, as long as it does not interfere with our ability to read the number that's on the jersey. So this one is clearly so lightly in there, we can see the 10 no matter what. And that's what we want. They can sublimate it, put it on there if they'd like. We just got to be able to read the numbers. So this one is now compliant. This would not have been compliant with the old rules. The other thing that's changed, and I want you all to know, if you have received your rule books, and by now I believe most groups have either picked their rule books up and you all should have them. They should have passed them out to you, or you'll be getting it shortly. But all the rule books have been dispersed. It used to be you could not have any school name, mascot name, or reference, other if it was more than 4 by 4 inches or 2 by 5. And as officials, of course, we never want to be the fashion police. We didn't want to have to go out and measure things. That rule is no longer one we have to keep. Now, they're allowed to have a school reference. It's permitted on the sleeves of the uniform top without a size restriction. Now, having said that, I want to bring your attention to the top of this slide. This says legal uniform dash correction. The correction stems from the fact that your rule book is incorrect. If you get a copy of the rule book on ebooks or on your mobile device, this has been corrected. It does say that they can now have it. In our rule books, it still says they have to follow the size restriction. So as referees, I need you all to know there is no size restriction. Okay? Now make sure it's reasonable. You shouldn't have somebody starting at the wrist of one arm, going all the way up the arm, across their back, and down the other one with the name of a player. That's a bit much. So, make sure it's reasonable. What are we looking for? The key thing? Can you always see the numbers? If you can clearly read the number, we're good to go. All right? So this is compliant. You can see the number 10 there. You can see they've got Lady J's down the side, and you can see there's a J out in the right corner of the ladies' jersey, of the young one's jersey, okay? So this would now be compliant, even though on the sleeve that's clearly bigger than what we would have allowed in the past. Also, another change for jerseys for this year. You all may have already heard of this. They are no longer going to allow a 0-0 as a uniform option, as a number option for uniforms. Now it says the number shall not be more than 2 digits from 0 to 99. Now, because this has been a rule they've put out and it's to go into effect immediately, some of you may run across a team or two in your area. We try to talk to the coaches to ask them if any of you have this, and we've had 2 so far who have a 0-0. They will be talking to Tammy up here at NMOA to get a letter of accommodation if they need to, if they're going to be using that jersey. So far we've had 2 that they need the jersey. They don't only have X amount, and let's face it, we don't always have the most money floating around in our districts, so they've asked to go another year using it, but they have to provide you with that letter. We have talked to the coaches and told the coaches, if you have a letter of accommodation of any kind, make sure you give it to the referees immediately. So know that 0-0 is out and 0 is in. And if somebody does show up with a 0-0, they need to have a letter to show you. If they do not have a letter to show you, then that student athlete will not play in that jersey, okay? This is a rule that goes into effect immediately unless they have a letter of accommodation. Beginning with the 2023 season, so we're talking 4 years down the road, now the body of the uniform and the stripe of the uniform have to be contrasting. So as you can see in picture number A, this jersey, which is legal today for the next 3 years, will be illegal in 2023. Why? The stripe of the number is white and the stripe of the jersey is white. They don't clearly contrast. They're the same color. And the reason for that is the further you get away, even when they outline it with black, the further you pull away from that number, the more the whole jersey starts to just turn white. They get harder and harder to see. So as you can see, a legal one is B. They've got number 18. You can clearly see that no matter where you are. And even on C, the stripe is black, the shirt is white, and they've outlined it in blue. You can still see the stripe of the number is clearly contrasting with the main color of the jersey, okay? So again, this starts in 2023. I'm sure as we get closer to 2023, we'll be giving you all some more instruction on, okay, starting now, let's go ahead and enforce this. What we'd like for you all to do up to that time is if you come across a team that has an example like in diagram A, let them know. Just remind them that they might want to look at making sure they don't order new jerseys that are done like this, because this will be illegal in 4 years, okay? New stuff for us to do. One of the things we've noticed is that the second referee is going to now be collecting team rosters at all the pre-match conferences. And a lot of times we have to go out and coaches are in the middle of warming their teams up and we're like, hey, we need a roster, we need a roster. So now they're saying, and we have said this to the coaches at the coaches clinics, make sure you bring your roster to the pregame conference, okay, the pre-match conference. Now, having said that, we typically have the pre-match conference at least 20 minutes before the game starts. So once they hand you second referee, and they can give it to the first referee because that's the one time both of us, the R1 and the R2, are on the floor together. Once they give it to us, does this mean they can't make a change? No, they can make a change up until 10 minutes left on the pregame clock. What you will see, especially in varsity matches, you'll find that the coach will hand you the roster, then they'll come up to the table with 13 minutes left, 11 minutes left, because their JV players are now coming out of the locker room and they're going to be suiting up to sit on the bench and play in varsity. And the coach may not always know what their number is yet. You might not know who got what jersey. So allow the coaches to go up to the scorer's table and make the changes to do the additions on their roster. Now, this doesn't mean we can't start checking the rosters. We certainly can. Go ahead and check them. And then the coaches will use, and I usually say, Coach, are you bringing up any players? And if they tell me yes, and sometimes let's say, I don't know what their numbers are yet, fine. Tell them, not a problem, come up at least before there's 10 minutes left and fill them in and finish your roster. So we can start checking them, but give the coaches time and realize that even though we're collecting them early, they can make changes up until 10 minutes on the left on the warm-up clock, okay? Next, lineups have to be submitted to the second referee, not to the scorer. And again, this comes up from sometimes we don't know when they've handed it in. This lets us know if second referee, if you have not got a lineup in your hand and there's like a minute and 30 seconds left, you need to get on your horse and start going around telling the coaches, hey, Coach so-and-so, I need a lineup. We need a lineup. Start, doing some prevent officiating and try to encourage them to get a lineup in your hand as quick as possible. That lets us know. And you know what to do. If they get it in late, then you give them a delay. So by all means, be aware of where lineups are and get it in. We have too many scorers that complain they don't have lineups, but they don't tell us that till the game's about to start. And then, we get disgusted like, well, why didn't you tell me? This is involving the second referee directly into that conversation. Now that they have to hand the lineup to you, second referee, we will now know whether or not the scorer has the lineups or if they've been turned in, okay? A new change made this year is where the line judges are going to be standing when the server is serving relatively close to where the line judge stands. As you know, our line judges stand directly on the corners. So on side A and side B. So if your line judge in the past, if the server is serving next to them, their job was to back up, go behind the server in line with the sideline. That has now changed. And now what they're going to do is they're going to back up directly with the inline so they can watch for foot faults on the inline. And then they quickly get back to their base position so they can see if a ball lands in or out on the sideline. When we went over this with coaches yesterday, we talked to them about it's their job to train their line judges to go out to the side now and not to go along the sideline, but to go out along the inline. And the key, of course, then being to quickly move back onto that corner so they can see if a ball lands on the line, in or out on the sideline. So if you all go to a school and you see them backing up along the inline, that's where you got to come into play and straighten them out. We did tell the coaches it's their job to train their players on where they're supposed to be standing. A new thing now, they're no longer calling, and I know you've seen this throughout our careers, where a player tosses the ball up for serve and it hits the backboard or it hits the basketball rim. That used to be considered an illegal serve. It is an illegal serve and it's no longer a server's fault. So when a ball tossed or contacts any part of the backboard or anything hanging vertically over the area, then we are now going to use this signal shown here, which is basically signal 13, which is an out signal. The illegal service fault signal, which used to be an open hand rising from your hip all the way up to the level position, is no longer in the rule book, because now the only illegal serves you can have R1 hitting an obstacle, hitting any part of a backboard or anything hanging over in the vertical position. That's now going to be an out signal. The other one you can have is they're taking too long to serve, which we know we put our hands up to show the 5 seconds have gone by. Or the other thing they can do is step on the inline for an illegal serve for a foot fault. So and we point at the inline when that happens. So there's nothing else really that can happen. So the signal for illegal serve is no longer in the rule book. Okay. Let's go on and talk about some of the changes that were made in the rule books. And these changes they are all in the new set of rule books that we all received for the 2019-2020 season. Let's talk about what they are. This first one cracks me up. And if some of y'all are having a new gym put in and they need to know how to measure the attack line from the center line, they're telling them basically go from the outside edge of the attack line to the center of the center line. I believe everybody's gym is already there. The lines are down. But if anything happens and they ask you as an official, how do we measure this? This is how you measure it. All right. This is a change that's been a rule for quite some time, but we are getting told we need to enforce it. We cannot have players removing their uniform tops or bottoms out in public. Sometimes the kids are standing at the bench and they realize the libero needs to put on a regular jersey because we've just disallowed the jersey she has. And she just whips off the other one. She has on a sports bra, boom, and puts on her regular jersey. Now that is going to be considered a yellow card, and it's charged to the coach. It's unsporting conduct. Since it's charged to the coach, and if they do it again, they get a red card. The coach has to start out, they have to sit down. And so when I said this to the coaches at the coaches clinic, their eyes got really big. And they were like, uh-oh, because now they realize before the match even starts, they don't police their kids. They could be sitting down the whole match. So they were told about this. They know that we are going to be enforcing it. And I told them the best thing to do, start talking to your players at practice about taking clothing off in front of everybody. That's all I got, locker rooms. I mean, heck, they can even go under a bleacher, go somewhere. Just don't stand out there in front of God and everybody and start taking their clothes off. That's what it means in short. Y'all watch for that. If they do it, you tell the head coach. And then you also let the head coach know you now have a card. This one, second referee responsibilities, oddly enough, this is something that we've always done. We have always told as a second referee, you always tell the R1 after the deciding set coin toss what the outcome is. But guess what, people? It's never been in the rule book. So they've decided we should probably put that in the rule book. And basically what it says is, what we do is we tell them right away, are they switching sides? Are they staying on the same side? And then which team is serving. This is telling the R2, tell your R1 the results of the coin toss. Again, something we've always done, but now it's in the book. And as we talked about before, that illegal serve signal is no longer in the rule book. And now in the event somebody does hit something, we're going to be using the out of bounds signal. That's an editorial change, and that's the change has been made in the rule books that you have. So signal 3 is gone. It used to be signal 3. It's now been removed. And now signal 13 is the signal that you will make. So if you see signal 3 here is an illegal hit, which we still have. It's also that thing coaches yell at us, lift. But frankly, it's supposed to be called an illegal hit or illegal contact. So these are all the signs that we still have, all the signals that we have and that we will use in officiating volleyball this year in New Mexico. Let's look at other editorial changes. The first one, basically it takes out the word illegal. This refers to Rule 24.1b, which says the referee shall stop play when a player gains an illegal advantage by contacting any floor, benches, team member, etc. They realize that they didn't need to have the word illegal in there. It just says you can't gain an advantage by contacting those things and playing the ball. So the word illegal was removed. Let's look at the next one, a fault being whistled. This pertains to a net fault. You have to indicate the player. It no longer says if necessary. So second referees, when you call a net fault, you've got to be able to give a number. And I know there's some times when we can't see the number, you've got to at least be able to see who it was. Was it the outside hitter? Outside blocker, the middle blocker, the blocker closest to you? You ought to be able to kind of give a coach an idea of who, in your opinion, was at the net. And I know sometimes when they throw a triple block up, you see one hand touch the net. But if you can, give a number, get in a position where you can see a number and give them a number. If you can't do that, then at least be able to tell them it was blocker on the outside, the furthest one from you, okay? So now, let's look at 10-2, penalty number 2. So this basically is talking about when, after getting unnecessary delays for substitution infractions, what they're saying now is there will be no sub allowed after that. This refers to infractions in your rule book. Those infractions are listed as A, B, or C. And it used to say A, B, that used to be written in there. It used to say, with unnecessary delay for A, B, C above, there'll be no further substitutions. Now they just say if you get an unnecessary delay for unnecessary delay for a substitution infraction, you can't have a substitution afterwards. No substitution is allowed till after the next dead ball. All right, let's talk about having an injured player and what you can do there. It used to say players granted a single each, and it used to say each player is granted only a single special injury timeout. They've removed the word each and they've removed the word only. So now that it reads players granted a single special timeout, and they've removed the word each and only. And as you all know, a special injury timeout is 3 minutes. However, they don't use the special injury timeout unless they've already used both of their timeouts. So this is something you use when somebody clearly is hurt and you've got to stop playing. And the coach is like, I want to see if she can continue to play. Then give that player some time to play. Having said that, you all need to use some common sense. And if you have a player who's down and her ankle is not looking good, or their knee is pointing in the direction it shouldn't be, or it's sitting over to the side, then all bets are off. You don't have to worry about giving them 3 minutes. On those, you wait until the paramedics can get there and take care of that player, and oftentimes move that player off of the playing surface. We do not move them off the playing surface. We don't touch the players. Go ahead and wait for the paramedics to come, and they will take care of that. All right. One of the things we talked to the coaches about was if it's a particularly bad injury, you all as referees should be aware you may want the kids removed to another gym if possible, take them to another area, especially if that person's going to be screaming in pain. You really don't want the players to have to hear that and see that. So encourage the coaches to kind of take their kids to the corner, or better yet, take them to the auxiliary gym where they can stay warm and keep warming up so they can come back and play once we get that really severely injured player removed. All right, next, we're looking at 12-2 penalty. It's been changed this year so that it now reads yellow conduct card. Instead of, we used to say warning yellow card and penalty red card. Now it's called a yellow conduct card and a red conduct card. So in the scorebooks, you will see the term YCC now instead of, it used to just say YC or RC. And that's how we will refer to it. Our point is to use the verbiage, the correct verbiage. So we've got to use, yep, coach, you've been given a yellow conduct card. Coach, you've been given a red conduct card, okay? So let's make sure we're using the proper verbiage when we are giving these cards out. And hopefully we'll go a long time without giving too many of them out. In an effort to simplify the scoring instructions, which is basically on page 55 through 59, they've reorganized them, broken them down a little bit, used some bullet points, have better illustrated examples, great comments. There are new scorebooks out, and that's what's been changed. The score sheet itself is the same. However, the instructions for it are what has changed. So we want to make sure you all are aware that if some of them come out and they don't have the new scorebooks yet, that's fine. Hopefully most schools have a score that's fairly competent, and we don't have to worry too much about what they have or don't have. So in this case, we're looking at them having old scorebooks with the old instructions. or they could have new score books, which are the exact same score sheets, but the instructions are simpler. You will have schools, as we always do here in New Mexico, that will be finishing using up every scorebook they have before they buy new ones. So be patient with them. And what I want to do basically is figure out, do I have a competent scorekeeper? If I've got a competent scorekeeper, I'm good to go. You know, if they know what they're doing, you know they can keep track on it. Okay. Now we're going to talk about the things that we want to use as points of emphasis. So these are things that they want us to make sure we're clear on. The first one being new informal back row attack signals. These used to actually be in our rule books as signals. They've been removed. They realize that these informal signals are signals basically that the R1 and the R2 use to talk to each other. And oftentimes we use these signals to give information to the coach. The informal signals are when we have someone where the ball's below the height of the net, as you can see here on the first diagram, where we put our arm down and we move it down. That's letting a coach know that we believe that back row player, the reason I'm not calling back row attack is part of the ball was below the height of the net. That's one of the informal signals that we use. The second one is when we have a player taking off from the back row to hit a 7, we usually will and they're close to the line, we will take our hand palm facing away from us towards the end line, push it away from your body. That's letting the coach know, in my opinion, as the R1, that player was behind the attack line and did not step on it. So these are signals that are now going to be considered to be informal signals used for communication purposes between us being the referees and occasionally a coach. And we use them sparingly. We don't want to use them very often, but sometimes it will help us to better explain what we called, and in most cases, why we didn't call something. Okay? Side fold and retractable backboards. Okay. This is considered a playable overhead obstruction. So a ball striking this raised backboard, regardless of how it's raised, it shall remain in play because they're going to consider that that backboard and everything is part, and it doesn't cross the plane of the net, and then it's playable by the teammate. They can continue to play. So it's called play continues. So in the judgment of the referee, if it is retracted, and that's what we're talking about, one that has been raised, all right, then you will let play continue because it's going to be considered part of the ceiling. Now, if it's not retracted and it's hanging over a playable area or restricted play area, then the referee can call a replay or call it out of bounds, depending on the judgment of the first referee on whether or not that ball would have remained in play. If you believe, and I'm talking about the backboard is down, and you believe there's a player back there and had it not hit that backboard, she would have been able to play it, by all means, you can have a replay. If it is raised and it hits it, as long as it hits it and stays on their side of the net, they can continue to play it. If it hits that backboard and then goes back across to the opponent's playing side, then that's not that. Then you will call it out. That can't be done. That's like having a 7th player. We're not going to have that, or a girl that's awfully tall. So let's not allow that to take place. So as long as it hits the backboard, stays on their playing surface, play can continue. If the backboard is up, if it's raised. If it's down, it's up to the R1 to make a judgment call. Okay? Everybody's clear on that. Now let's look at some ball handling. There's going to be, every year, it's one of the things that coaches want to know most. What are y'all considering when you look at ball handling? This is NFHS's way of saying, here's the criteria they want us as officials to use, as well as letting coaches know, here's the criteria we use. So they want us to only look at the contact point when we're judging the legality of a set. So they want us looking at the hands to see if we see a double. We're not going to be listening to the fans or the coaches standing there with 2 up in the air or the crowd reacting. And I told the coaches, half the time we don't hear you all anyway. We kind of tune it out when we're officiating the game. So we're looking at the contact point, and they want us to know that there is no ball position or the body position of the player that will automatically result in an illegal contact. As we've all had in some matches before, I'm certain, a girl's down on her knees or she's sprinting to get a ball, and you're thinking to yourself, oh, this isn't going to be good. Or a ball gets shanked to her at a really high speed, and you're thinking, oh, she's going to biff this. And then they don't. It comes out clean. So what we have to do as officials is keep an open mind to what we're going to see, and if it comes out well, Don't call it just because her body was in a really poor position. Make sure you're watching the contact point of the ball. In addition, tips to use when assessing second ball contact: was the player in? What position is that player in when they get ready to play the ball? We want you all to start to use less severe judgment if a player is making a challenging or spectacular play while still having a fairly legal set, okay? If the ball is mangled, it's mishandled as they're making a spectacular play, you're still going to call that. If it's really badly played, call that. But if you have a player running from the setter's position, which is typically right front, and she runs all the way over to left back, and the ball has a little bit of spin on it when it comes out, you're going to let that go. She just ran a long way to get that. Now, if she's standing there, standing at the right front position, the ball comes right to her, and she sends it over to left front, and it's just going wobbling, call that. She didn't even have to move for it. So if you see them have to make a really spectacular play or making a challenging effort at something, call those a little less severely than you would if they're just standing there waiting for the ball to come directly to them. It's going to take us all time to put this into play, and you're going to have some coaches that are yelling, "That's a double." Be prepared as a second referee. Second referees go over and say, "Hey, coach, in the opinion of in our opinion, our being R1 and R2, our as a team, in our opinion, she really made a great play on that ball." And don't be afraid to just tell a coach that, and then go back, give the court back to your partner, and continue to officiate the match. All right? Now let's look at the Officials Association. Okay, they've got more updated education courses and videos located at the NFHS Learn Center, which is found at www.nfhslearn.com. You all can go there. On the dashboard, there was one of the things called courses and videos. So when you get in there, you will see some of them are 20 to 45 minutes long, the different courses that you can take. There are sport-specific courses, so you can go in, boom, right away, go to volleyball, and they will have videos that you can watch, and know that the cost for members on some things can be $10. The cost for non-members is $20. But this has a slew of courses in there. The first one that and this shows all of them. It's a huge library, but you want to always go in, and for us, you can see on the far right, it's talking about, okay, let's look at going into volleyball. And the main video they have for us that they put up first is officiating volleyball, ball handling. And they've got lots of videos in there where you can see various contacts, different positions of the players playing, so that you have a chance to see what they want us to be calling as a fault, what they want us to be letting go as a legal player action. So if you watch these videos, you should get, and for especially those of you who are located in places where there might be you and 2 or 3 other referees, watch the videos. That's almost like getting to have a senior referee in your area with you, someone that can show you, here's more to look at. So it's got rules governing ball handling. Where should you train your eyes to be? All right? Consistency in ball handling. One of the main things coaches want from us as officials is for us to be consistent. So if we start calling something one way, they want us to continue to call it that way, so that is that me? Oh. Okay, got it. Yeah. Okay, so that they can make the adjustments. As long as we are consistent, the coaches will adjust their teams. It's when we're calling all over the map. And I know we all have some bad matches where we do this. You just can't seem to be consistent on what you want to talk about or what you want to call. But try to be consistent, and they will make the adjustments. Again, go to that NFHS Learn Center. It's a great place to get some more information. There's sports information there, rules information. They've got a rules library, searchable rules books, everything, content. I think everybody should at least go in there and look at it once so you can get yourself familiar with it. Our national interpreter, Lindsay Atkinson, spent a great deal of time talking to everyone to get this done. So if you can, states that have an 100% membership have access to the central hub for the officials. And New Mexico is a 100% membership state. So that means we can get right in there, y'all, and use all these resources. The Learning Center. This is professional development for coaches, officials, administrators, parents, students. There is stuff in Learning Center that can help everyone. They look at all the courses they have.
We do have a question.
Uh-huh.
So this is from Ty.
Okay.
For a player trying to set a serve from the back row, what is your definition?
Set a serve?
Yes.
That's illegal.
So here's it says, okay. For a player trying to set a serve from the back row, what is your definition of allowable play between the two hands? In other words, what kind of action are you allowing?
Setting a service come over the net and they're setting.
And then when a girl's hands have fingers cupped around the ball and it's directed after a delay in the hands, wouldn't that be illegal? I had a varsity coach tell me that I was stifling a girl on the freshman team's aggressiveness by calling that. Finger action is needed, right? Not
yes.
Cupping.
So, Ty, if I'm hearing the question properly, there's a couple things I heard inside of the question. The first one being, it was a freshman team. Referees know that when you are officiating the freshmen, they're trying to learn a skill. So there are going to be times when they're trying to take a ball with their hands, a serve, with an overhand set, which is a set using their hands. And we want to encourage that. So we might allow them a little longer contact than we certainly would in a varsity match. In a varsity match, we might call that right away and say, no, you got to get rid of that quicker. They're also talking about in a varsity match, the player could be 17, 18, maybe 16. In a freshman team, she could actually be 13 and she barely has any upper body strength. And so they're trying to learn to do it and it might stick in their hands a little bit longer. And you're going to allow it that between C team and middle school versus a varsity player. So let's make that distinction right off the bat, number one. So that's what the coach was probably meaning when she said, you're stifling my player to start learning to do this. We allow them, just like when they're learning how to do a power tip or to do a dump right back over their head towards one of the corners. As a younger player, sometimes they have that ball in their hand entirely too long. If it's a C team match or a middle school match, and she didn't literally just dunk it like a basketball, go ahead and allow that. You would never allow that in a varsity match. They should know how to legally, totally legally, do a power tip or a dump behind their head. So make that distinction between the players. So in your case, Ty, when you said it was a ninth grader, a C team player, I'm almost certain that's what the coach was talking about. The coach was saying you're stifling the player because you're not allowing her an opportunity or encouraging her to try to learn that skill better. So if it's got a lot of prolonged contact, and the higher the level of play is, the tighter you're going to call that. I hope, if I heard your question properly, I hope that answers it. But take that into consideration when you're applying judgment to those types of calls. Let me know, Ty, let Dana know. Go ahead and type it in the chat room if we answered it. If I answered it completely enough, if I didn't, we'll talk about it some more. Okay, back to the Learning Center. They have, we have tons of materials that they have for us. You know, if you look at this, you guys, 1.6 million courses, whoa, in 2018, that's how many they delivered. So on the courses that they have, over 70 of them available, look at how many times people went there and took part in those courses, okay? Over 30 of them are at no cost. So again, for us that are 100%, almost all of them are at no cost for us. So if you are living in a place and you don't feel like you don't have a lot of contact, especially with other officials, please, 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 I highly encourage you, go look in the Learning Center and look up some of these things so that you can continue to improve. Always be a student of the game. Look at your other areas around. I know here in Albuquerque, we open up our scrimmages to people coming from other areas, and some of you have taken advantage of that. So one of the best ways to learn volleyball is to be around other volleyball refs, and in the event you don't have that opportunity, look at as much video as you can. Free courses. Now for us as referees, there's an area in there just for referees, but as you can see, since these courses are set up for coaches and for parents, they've got things on bullying and hazing and protecting students from abuse and sportsmanship, things that we may not as officials want to see, but you may be in a situation where if you have a new coach, and we all know who they are, when they come out to their first game and they're looking at us like, I need help, I don't know how to do any of this. You want to encourage them to go into the Learning Center because they have, for the coaches, drills they can use. They have things they can do if they've got hazing going on amongst their team when they're off the court. And you have some coaches go, I don't know what to do about this. Fine. they can go in and look in the Learning Center and figure out what to do. And of course, when it has to do with abuse and hazing and bullying, they should be directly going to their AD or their principal and getting those things taken care of. But know that this is something that you can encourage new coaches to use. And they may, if they don't know it's there, when we talk to the coach at the coaches clinic, we let them know. But every now and then you'll get a coach who was hired a moment before their first game. And you can let that coach know there's help for you at the Learning Center. Also, the NMAA website has resources there. As you all know, almost every form we use in volleyball is also in the NMAA website. So you may go to school sometime and they don't have a scorebook. You can download a score sheet off of the NMAA website. You can download a libero tracking sheet off the website. So as officials, we need to find for ourselves where are these things so that we can at all times be able to help get our matches started. And you don't want to be stuck because you don't have a score sheet or you don't a scorebook or you don't have a libero tracking sheet. We also carry around some tracking sheets with us sometimes in our backpacks just to avoid having any delays, and we're going to try to get started. So NFHS Network, by 2020, they want to make sure they're live streaming every high school sporting event. Can you figure that? What that's going to do, it's going to allow parents who can't get to their child's game, they can pull it up on their mobile phone or on their iPads and be able to see their kid playing. So they really want to deliver live high school sports events to family members, fans, wherever they want, wherever they are. 27 different sports and activities. Boy, can you imagine filming all of that? That's a lot. That includes sports and cheer. So it's a school broadcast program. They want to be able to get it out there and stream it. All of these places in yellow are where they have agreements with already to get these things done. The areas you see in the lighter colors already have things, situations set up where they stream their sports already, but where they're looking to stream all the high school sports. So they got 46 of the 51 member state associations are signed up to do this. Where do you get this NFHS network? You can view it from a mobile device, okay? This is where you get it, National Federation State High School. If you have trouble getting onto the NFHS Learning Center or getting anything, the rule books or anything on your mobile device, you'll be talking to Nate Acosta here at the NMAA office. Nate is the go-to person for the arbiter. Any problems you have with anything digitally, electronically, call up here, ask for Nate. If you have to talk to anybody in NMAA, always go to your group leader first, unless it is something that's digital or something electronic, and then feel free to get in touch with Nate, and he does get back to people pretty quickly. So if you have trouble logging onto anything or you can't get into Arbiter or any of that, let Nate know and he'll get with you and get you put on there right away. At this time, this concludes our online clinic for volleyball for 2019. If you have any questions, by all means, get them into Dana real quickly. We'll answer them so that everybody can hear them. But right now, I believe there are no questions. And so I tell you all, have a great season. Anything comes up during the year, contact Tammy. Richards, if you have something come up after you've contacted your group leaders. Good luck to you all and hope to see you on court down the road. Take care, everybody. God bless.
And Ty, in response to your question about online rule books, I will email you those instructions again. We had sent them out, I think, sometime late last month, but I'll forward a copy of those to you tomorrow. You are welcome. Does anybody have any other questions for Nora or for myself before we log out and let you all get to your evening or what's left of it? As Nora said, we'll hang on the line for just a couple of minutes and then we'll log out. And if you think of something after we've logged out, please shoot me an email and I'll send it on to Nora. We will actually send you a copy of this recording. So that way, if you want to, if there's something that maybe you just want to review, you'll be able to go back and take a look at it. So I'll send that to you tomorrow after I upload it to YouTube. So checking to see if there's any other comments. It doesn't look like it. Nora did do a great job with this presentation. Thanks, Art.
You're welcome, Art.
If there are no other questions, you could go ahead and log out. And like I said, if you have any other issues that come up or we log out and then you go, oh man, I should have asked Nora that, just shoot me an email and I'll be happy to get that to her because I would like for you guys to get the right answer instead of me trying to figure out how to interpret volleyball rules. So nobody wants that. That's not good for anyone. All right, well, we're going to go ahead and log out here. And everybody, thank you so much for joining us, and thanks for what you do, and have a wonderful season. And we will definitely see you down the road.
On the court.
Exactly. Have a good night, guys and gals.